Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite, action.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria. Tundu MKO Abiola.
Morning, Mr. Efeni.
Great, nice,
Contain yourself.
little red blazer.
No, this is not red.
Coquelicot. Don't you understand?
Well, you know, the way you said it, it sounds like
Tundu, you complicate colors.
I do not complicate colors. I do not. I resent that. I use the proper word.
What the eye is saying is red, Joe.
The different shades of red.
Okay.
Like, is that the same shade as his
That's
his
more
red?
like it.
Look at his red.
red.
So yes,
Mr.
Coquelicot
Efeni.
is a shade of red.
Mr. Feni, which color is called red, Joe?
He's got red in his tie and it's completely different from what
Now
I
let's start the
Shoot
review.
your shot.
Let's start the review with this.
Dr. Abati.
Nigeria's newspaper of record. Now, the lead story. NSAS, NEC, National Economic Council, directs governors to prosecute indicted persons. Protesters hold car procession at Lekki toll gates, demand justice. Say brutality continues. Police disrupt march to National Assembly. We do not stop demonstrators, Lagos insists. Okowa inaugurates Human Rights Protection Committee. Afenifere challenges federal government to fulfill promises. Yes, the youths made good their promise to come out to commemorate that the shooting at Lekki toll gate, and they did. Well, it was quite interesting to hear that this Lagos State government and our friend, the Lagos State Commissioner for Information, Benga Motor, literally was sweating on this program. But he was able to put the case that the Lagos State government or the Lagos State governor did not stop the youth from using any venue. But despite the tough talk of the Lagos State Police Commissioner much earlier and show of force, yes, there was heavy security presence at the toll gate, but the youths came in their convoy and made their point. But what perhaps was intriguing yesterday was the police commissioner owning up that indeed he had an agreement with the protesters that they will just drive their car through that place for 2 hours. So at least some understanding can be reached to allow citizens to protest. And I hope the police authorities will fine-tune that side of their operations to ensure that Nigerians can protest and that they have a duty to protect protesters from hoodlums, wherever they may come from, and allow Nigerians to ventilate their views. Now, but what Nigerian youths were protesting against. Since last year, police brutality, we saw it in full glare yesterday when the police were arresting all kinds of persons seen around the Lekki toll gate. In fact, some of those arrested said they were arrested from elsewhere and brought to the toll gate. What is the fate of those persons arrested? Because the police commissioner, Akim Ogdumosu, of course, he was releasing some people. He claimed they were able to identify themselves. So if you don't have an ID card and you're wrongly picked, you are likely to still be in the police detention as we speak. But the Nigerian Bar Association, of course, a new one under Olumide Akpata, very active, said they will ensure that every Nigerian picked wrongfully by the police on the account of this protest, that they will ensure that they gain their freedom. Because some have had their phones seized, they cannot even reach anybody. And when you are in police custody, they say somebody has to come and identify you before you can get out. You know that that has implications. if I may borrow a hackneyed phrase from Dr. Ruben Abati. Now, other stories on the front page of this day. El-Rufai. I wrote Buhari since 2017 to designate bandits as terrorists. This argument or this clamor has been echoed by other well-meaning Nigerians. In fact, some of us don't use the word bandits anymore because we know that those guys are actually terrorists. Guys who can bring down Alpha jets of the Nigerian Air Force. What they used, the gun, anti-aircraft gun or whatever. You cannot continue to be classifying them as mere bandits. They are terrorists. But why the federal government is very reluctant in doing so is what is baffling so many Nigerians. And that includes Nasiru El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. Now, just lastly on the front page of this day before I move on, the economists, kidnappers, zealots, rebels making Nigeria ungovernable, says President Buhari has allowed the rot to deepen, once country sliding into failed states. Now, the Economist, the London-based newspaper, noted in a report that in the northeast, a jihadist insurgence was spreading rebellion. Rebellion was brewing in the southeast, pointing out that across most of the country, the rich and poor alike live in fear of kidnappers, warlords, or rustlers. Going further, it adds, even the sea provides no haven. The Gulf of Guinea is the world's hotspot for piracy, according to this report. Does that sound familiar? And I would say yes. They are not saying anything new. These are very familiar features in our polity, in our climate. And the insecurity now being echoed by the Economist newspaper. Now, the Guardian newspaper, the lead story also, arrest, police brutality, headline, EndSARS memorial in Lagos, Abuja. Over 20 police stations burned by hoodlums, yet to be refurbished. Federal government claims Lekki killings false. Quote, phantom massacre, unquote. U.S. advises protesters to engage leaders politically. No justice for victims of police brutality 1 year after Amnesty International laments. Huriwa asks National Assembly to set up protection board for protesters. NBA demands release of arrested protesters, journalists. EndSARS protest akin to June 12 struggle, says Arogundade. Federal government has failed to learn from history, says Access to Justice. Now, just below the photograph of protesters on the front page of Guardian, Turkey coup plotters active in Nigeria. Erdogan warns Buhari, declare bandits as terrorists. El-Rufai tells FG. Now, the Turkish president, Erdogan, is in Nigeria, and he has yet to get out of that coup mode because the coup plotters seem to be everywhere, from America to Nigeria. And he has also told President Buhari that those who plotted against him are active in Nigeria. I remember his allegation led to the change of name of the Turkish International School when that happened. That coup happened in Turkey. Now, the Punch newspaper, Lagos EndSARS panel, compensation, Lagos pays 420 million naira, NBA falls Akwa Ibom, Ogun, Oyo, Benue for shunning payments. Will submit report to NEC, Abuja, to pay victims, says Oyo. Police disrupt rallies, disperse protesters, journalists arrested. Insurance firms put claims at 20 billion naira, probes delay payment. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, the same lead story. EndSARS policemen, soldiers, battle protesters in Lagos, Abuja, others. Protesters tear gas, arrested, brutalized at Lekki toll gate. Now, below the photograph, bandits kill 343, kidnap 830, injure 210 in Kaduna in 3 months. Only corroborating the story written by the Economist newspaper, how unsafe most parts of Nigeria are today. Now, that figure has been given by Kaduna State government. So it's not as if the newspaper is making it up. Now, the Leadership newspaper, federal government budgets 2,178 naira for each citizen's health in 1 year. 20 years after, health budget falls short of 15% Abuja declaration. Sector got 4.75% in 2019, 3.83% in 2020, and 4.18% in 2021. Experts identify corruption, lack of accountability as major pitfalls.
Emmanuel Efeni, on that note, we'll take a short break, and then when we return the conversation with Emmanuel Efeni, we'll continue. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Emmanuel Efeni is still here with a review of newspapers in today's newspapers from around the world. Headlines in today's newspapers.
Yes, we're looking at the Leadership newspaper and the state of Nigeria's budgetary provision for health. And we'll take that again. The Leadership newspaper, federal government budgets 2,178 naira for each citizen's healthcare in 1 year. 20 years after, health budget falls short of 15% Abuja declaration. Sector got 4.75% in 2019, 3.83% in 2020, and 4.18% in 2021. Experts identify corruption, lack of accountability as major pitfalls in sector. Director will put up the Leadership newspaper up there, please. Now, the Abuja declaration. To recall that declaration was made by African heads of state in Abuja to ensure that every year, at least 15% of budget is set aside for the health sector. But look at the paltry figure in the last 3 years highlighted by the newspaper. So when are we going to provide enough for the health sector? Little wonder doctors are often on strike. Doctors leaving the country because they don't have facilities to ply their trade in many areas where they work. Of course, many Nigerians still find their way out of the country to treat simple health issues, including ear pain, throat, and what have you. So perhaps the government must take another look at this. But to be fair, you cannot restrict that. Governments before President Buhari also don't make up that 15% as recommended by the Abuja declaration. Now, the Business Day newspaper, private jet operation booms on elections insecurity. More charter and private jet companies are springing up in Nigeria over rising insecurity and election campaigns. Business Day, according to Business Day's findings. Now, with the general elections holding in less than 16 months, politicians are already booking charter jets to fly them from one location to another to carry out their campaigns. Yes, well, is this progress? But the reason why many politicians also have to go on private jets is because the roads are not safe. Otherwise, you reach many more communities to campaign if you go by road. But again, that is the reality, that you have to think twice before you enter most of the roads because of kidnappers and other bandits, armed robbers who usually have a field day. It doesn't matter where you are traveling to. It's just as dangerous as traveling from Benin to Lokoja, just as you travel from Lagos to Ibadan. Sometimes you are just as in much danger on both routes. Now, if we look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Times of UK, Javid warns daily COVID cases could hit 100,000. Public urged to get booster jab and wear mask. Well, further coronavirus will be needed. Restrictions will be needed if people do not have booster jab and get serious about face masks, which the Health Secretary Sajid Javid has stated. And he's saying that with the rate at which they are having infections, I think in the last count, 43,000 daily, that by winter, in the peak of winter, by December, we may have as much as 100,000 infections a day. And the NHS may be overwhelmed once again. In fact, some observers are saying that the NHS is already having a tough time coping with the rate of infections. And what he's saying is that, well, there has to be a plan B, and they have a plan B in place. Now, the Daily Telegraph seemed to hint about that, the plan B. Have your booster jab to keep your freedom. Javid raises prospect of winter restrictions unless the pace of third dose rollout increases. If people don't go out there and take the jab, well, with the rate of infection, restrictions may just return in the UK. The ministers are already threatening new restrictions unless the pace of the third dose go up. Now, the Wall Street Journal also looking at the coronavirus and booster jabs. Wall Street Journal is reporting Federal the Food and Drugs Administration, FDA, broadens use of COVID-19 boosters. Regulator back extra doses of Moderna, J&J shots, as well as mixing and matching vaccines. This is a new one because the U.S. health regulator has significantly, as the newspaper has reported, widened the campaign and has cleared the use of extra doses of Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Also saying that people who get a shot that is different from what they had previously received, people can get a shot of what they have previously received. So if you have taken AstraZeneca 1 and 2, you can take a third jab of Moderna or J&J, Johnson & Johnson. That's the new development. It's
called mixing and matching.
Yes, mixing and matching. So I'm sure Nigerians will also be looking up to that. But of course, our own NAFDAC has to give its own approval before we can say mixing and matching can be done in Nigeria. Ruben Rufai and Tundu.
The Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States decided on that because it was recognized that many countries that have business with the United States, including Canada, just up north, have adopted mixing and matching. And that in any case, you know, the science has proven, the research, tests conducted have proven that, well, that does not necessarily constitute any kind of danger to those who mix and match, even if officially the United States has not recommended that as an option internally within the United States. But the U.S. needs to open up travels. However, I think the point you brought about Sajid Javid is the attempt by the health secretary, or if you like, Downing Street, to save Christmas. And Sajid Javid is saying that, look, people should return to the wearing of masks, you know, and that they should feel encouraged to take the booster shot if they are eligible, particularly persons that are above the age of 50. So yesterday he was the one that took charge of the press briefing at Downing Street, and that's the big news this morning. However, the related news has to do with the fact that if people do not take those precautions, that the UK will not hesitate in imposing further restrictions, lockdowns, by Christmas. So that's the issue. But the plan B has not been activated, but it was saying that even a plan C is possible. So this is just supposed, I guess, to be a wake-up call, particularly as COVID cases being recorded in the UK is now 100,000. It's not 1,000, as you said. It's the hospitalization rate that is 1,000 per day, but the cases, within the range of about 100,000. But the better news from the UK is the fact that the UK authorities have now applied for about 730,000 doses of an antiviral drug produced by Merck, and it's called Monoravi. I don't know, but the name sounds like that. And it's produced by Merck, and it's also supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that is making available about $120 million to support research. And I think that, this is a great hope, particularly for persons in poor countries, in lower and middle income countries, about 92 of them around the world, who do not like the needle. So you just take a tablet, an antiviral tablet, and perhaps it will be fine, as long as it gets the relevant approval from the various authorities. Now, as for Nigeria, I would have wanted to hear your opinion about what transpired yesterday, the commemoration of 1-year anniversary of the NSAS protest of last year. But even more importantly, of interest to me is the fact that the Kaduna State Governor, was quoted yesterday as saying that, in fact, Kaduna State, he himself, supports the idea that bandits should be categorized as terrorists and not as, insurgents, bandits, and some kind of low-level, criminals. They should be properly classified as terrorists. And I think that's in sync with the thinking of many Nigerians, of lawmakers, who think that when the word bandits is used, it's an attempt to make it look like what they do is of a lesser threat. But anybody who can kidnap anybody or organize any kind of assault on a community, of course, is engaged in very violent behavior that has no other name than terrorism.
That can slaughter 40 people in one go in the market in Sokoto.
The right terminology is always important.
Look at the figures coming out of Kaduna in 3 months. 343 people killed.
I'm trying to shade you and you're talking. The right terminology is always important, Mr. Fene.
True.
We don't need to use generic terms when specific ones are so much better.
True.
Yeah.
That's shade.
That's shade.
Mr. Fene.
So, I want to piggyback on that and talk a little bit about the visit of Recep Tayyip Erdogan yesterday, the Turkish president. And he said a lot of things. They signed an MOU, 8 core areas: mining, defense, and and businesses in general. So for me, this is good because Turkey is a model we can look at. Turkey used to be where we are many years ago, but Turkey has been able to turn its fortunes around with manufacturing. And Turkey has become a manufacturing hub. And because of its location, it sits between Europe and Asia. In fact, pretty much it's got a bridge in the central of Istanbul called the Bosphorus Bridge. A part of that bridge is in Asia, another part is in Europe. It's been able to improve its trade, but because it manufactures, it churns out produce. And if a lot of Turkish businesses are coming here to do businesses with Nigerians, I'm excited about that. If possibly that would raise up our manufacturing potentials and the likes. But that also has to be looked at. And I say that because Recep Tayyip Erdogan is not just coming to Nigeria. He's going all over Africa. And we keep talking about countries coming sort of like to recolonize Africa. We see the Chinese, now the Turkish are coming big time. So So we should be careful about that. But one other part of the visit, and what he said, was about the Fatullah Gulen organization, or the FETO, that caused the coup in this country. And the shocking thing, he said that they are here in Nigeria. I think our security agencies should not just take that at face value. We do not want any more terrorist group that will cause problem for us in this country. If Recep Tayyip Erdogan comes and says FETO is in Nigeria, we should fish them out and solve this once and for all. Because today, what that just says in my head is, he has named another group. We have many groups. We've got Boko Haram, we've got ISIL, we've got unknown gunmen, we've got... Honestly. And the list keeps going on.
No, look, Rufai, Erdogan has been on this trail of making these allegations since that coup happened.
Yeah, so if he
everywhere he went, because that group, if they have schools in any country, he said the groups are in that school.
If he says
they're in that country.
If he says FETO is in Nigeria, I think we should look at that seriously. On the other hand, I know it's a narrative Erdogan is pushing because he is solely against Fatullah Gulen. And the coup was caused by the Turkish military, a section of the Turkish military that were loyal to Fethullah Gulen. I know about the crackdown. I know about how over 1,000 media organizations were cracked down, civil society and the likes, right against humanity.
It was an excuse.
It was an excuse for Erdogan to do all
crack
of
down
that.
on civil society, the media and all that.
So, but I'm just saying this so that we should look at it critically. If he says FETO is here in Nigeria, I don't want a case where we start to hear another group sometime soon in the future and they say it's FETO. And we start referring, just like Nasir El-Rufai says now, that he sent a letter to President Buhari way back in 2017 to declare these bandits terrorists, and nothing has been done. Only God knows what happened to the letter. So I don't want a case in the future where a lot of Nigerians will be harmed, and the next thing we say, it is FETO that is doing it. And that's why I say the security agent should look at it. Damning enough, the Economist report, throws more light on what is happening in Nigeria. The Economist report goes further to say that nowhere is safe. Talked about the Gulf of Guinea. The waterways are not safe. The north is not safe. The south is not safe. There are agitators in the east. Even the west, we've got cases of kidnapping and the likes. Only to think that this Economist report is coming just 4 or 5 days after you had the Wall Street Journal reports that reported the same thing. So we can be quick to say, okay, this is foreign politics, foreign media and the likes. The trail here is, things are definitely not well as regards our security situation. And we should work on it. Well, it's not about the foreign media just saying this or saying that.
No, but they are just
views. I'm still making my point, please. It's about us now looking inwards and saying, what can we take from all of these conversations and ensure that this country is safe for all? I'm tying that to also your business day story. That say private jet operators are having a booming market because of insecurity. We all remember in this country the famous Mercedes of Chief Obafemi Awolowo that is said to have gone to every part of this country. We used to know politicians to do whistle stop and campaign every part of the country in cars. They can't do the same again. Yeah. It shows the insecurity situation in this country. My submission is, please, let us do something. And let's not say, oh, Erdogan is fighting FETO. If he says they are in Nigeria, because I don't want a day that people will be killed and they'll say, oh, we blame FETO for it.
Well, I have a vague idea of where El-Rufai's 2017 letter is, probably where his committee's report on restructuring is. They probably just chucked it there.
Gathering dust.
Exactly. We know where they are. But it's funny how this state, it's above the masthead, the headline that you read, Mr. Feni. The story continues on page 50, directly opposite, on the opposite page, there's an MTN advert that raises the point that you just made, how lawmakers have been saying that the bandits should stop being called bandits and should be called terrorists. And that just happens to be the advert. Look, Senate presses, to have them named terrorists. This is a deafening outcry at this point, to have them properly named.
The National Assembly has called on the president to do what is needful,
that's right there in the advert.
And El-Rufai
Yes.
was corroborating what the National Assembly has said.
Yes.
But we should be
No, but
specific.
properly, not to attribute to MTN. It's this day front page
Yes.
that is on that advert.
Yes. So
that-
they used this day front page, but of all the things to use, it's that same story, directly opposite this El-Rufai story. For me, obviously, it's a happy accident, but it just really stresses the point here.
Well, we should be specific on the details instead of just going on and on. With regard to Turkey, Turkey and Nigeria has had, they both had relations for about 60 years. But in recent years, we've seen great improvement in that regard, particularly in medicine, in agriculture, in tourism, more on the side of Turkey rather than Nigeria, and particularly even in education. Some of the most popular schools in Abuja are Turkish schools. They also have branches across the country. As for terrorism, the thing about terrorism is that it's a global responsibility. It will come up in any bilateral relations anywhere in the world. But the question again is, what has been the politics of Recep Erdogan himself in his own country? You know, there's a lot of controversy in that regard. But I guess the key point of the visit to Nigeria, which is reciprocal, I hope at some point, I don't remember whether President Buhari has visited, he will also visit. But the key problem we have in all of this, 8 MOUs have been signed, but Nigeria has a reputation of failing to follow through, which in itself is a comment on the competence, the efficiency of the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other associated departments of government. So what I expect is that with the increasing quality of bilateral relations between Turkey and Nigeria, that on those critical issues about mining, about education, even security, whatever Turkey can do with Nigeria in that regard, that there will be a follow-up. Because we have many MOUs that are just gathering dust in the Federal Ministry of Foreign Relations that nobody follows through with. What you see is the photo opportunity, the president and his wife, the visiting head of state and his wife, they take these pictures and nothing goes further beyond that. And then, of course, you know, bilateral relations should be about advantage for your country. And that is where Nigeria often drops the ball. But, you know, I hope that those important areas of cooperation and discussion between the Turkish and the Nigerian, you know, bilateral commission will be something that we will see through, given the strategic location and value of Turkey in Europe.
Yes, Ruben, you're talking about MOUs and other agreements signed at occasions like this. Are we in a position to really benefit from this? Turkish Airlines is one of the favorite airlines Nigerians use to get into Europe. And they are ready to give you 1 night free in Ankara to connect you to any of the European cities. But do we have the airline to actually benefit from that bilateral agreement? No. When it comes to goods moving between both countries, what do we manufacture that can get into Turkey and be accepted, apart from begging them to buy our oil? That is where the problem is.
So
really.
how does Nigeria engage the rest of the world?
Talking about manufacturing, I know that is your passion.
I think the best we can do with Turkey now, in terms of manufacturing, is joint R&D. Joint R&D, research and development for more products. And then bring the Turkish companies to set up manufacturing hub here. Turkey churns out most of the products that goes to Europe. Turkey is rich in manufacturing of steel, glass, and some other things like that. So there are possibilities across board. Normally, it will be skewed towards Turkey at the start because they have the capacity. Turkey is about over 500 billion, close to $1 trillion economy. But the truth is, when we can get our acts together, then we start to stabilize things. So real quickly, R&D, research and development. Collaborations between Turkish institutions, Nigerian institutions, for research across the areas Dr. Abasi has talked about, agriculture, medicine, and the likes. Then also ensure that they set up some of these production hubs here so that we can get skill transfer. Then if we're smart about it, then we can start to harness that possibility. But it's a big manufacturing hub. It's got its own internal problem with its currency. The Turkish lira is it's at an all-time low now. But if we harness that, there's a lot of possibility in there.
But Erdogan is also visiting other African countries.
Oh, yeah.
So will Nigeria be the best option for investors to drop their
Play your
investments?
cards right. It's a competitive market. If we play our cards
Bring your
right,
factory here.
we can.
You be your own power company.
Yeah.
Your own water company.
Don't forget-
your own infrastructure
Security.
company.
Don't forget we have a big market too.
If any, we'll have to let you go. It's
Okay.
a question of capacity. Does Nigeria have the comparative capacity? Do we have the right security framework in place? Do we have the skill set that can even take advantage of any, relationship with other countries? So we have a lot to do and a lot to learn. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni. We'll see you tomorrow.